All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this for the viewers here. I was really blown away by this little Instagram off
Oh,
the
wow.
cuff performance, and then maybe we can talk about
Oh,
it a little
man.
bit. But let's just take a quick listen
Yeah.
here. Woo! Yeah,
Oh,
man.
man.
Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Noah Kellman. Today we are diving in with a master pianist who comes from a background of gospel and soul in addition to modern jazz. His name is Jahari Stampley, and I'm so incredibly excited to share this interview with you. As usual with this Jazz Lab YouTube and podcast series, I'm cutting down the length of the YouTube video, but if you want to dive in deep and get the full length podcast, which I highly recommend, this one was really fun to record. Check out the link in the description. I will link you directly to the podcast so you can listen on whichever platform you prefer. Also, just a quick reminder that the price of my Reharm and Resolution Mastery course that I just released a couple weeks ago goes up officially at 11:59 p.m. tonight, and I'll be also releasing a bunch of new content when that price goes up. So if you're interested in jumping in at the lowest possible price, now is the time to check it out. Link is in the description. As usual, if you're new to the channel, please consider clicking the subscribe button and hitting the little bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any more videos just like this one. All right, with that said, let's dive into the interview.
Welcome everybody to my channel or to the podcast if that's where you're listening. Today I'm really excited. We've got an incredible guest here, Jahari Stampley. Very excited to have you on the podcast, Jahari. Thank you so much for being here. And today we're just going to dive into some different things about Jahari's playing, your influences. I hope you don't mind, I grabbed a video from your Instagram that I absolutely love that I really
Oh,
want to show people. So
oh, man. Man. Oh, thank you, man.
so I'm definitely I'm gonna pick your brain about that video, but I'm actually gonna save that for a little bit later in the interview. So anybody listening or
Oh,
watching, you're
sweet.
gonna have to hang out, and we'll get there. We'll get there. But to start out, Jahari, I wanted to actually ask you, man. So tell us a little bit about your musical background. How did you learn music? How did you learn piano? And where did you kind of pick up your sense of harmony?
Well, okay, so my background is actually a bit strange because I originally started playing drums when I was 7 years old. And when I started piano, I actually hadn't started until I was 14 in high school. And the first thing that I did was I came across this video on YouTube of a black guy with glasses. His name was P. Miller, and he looked just like me. He was playing like classical renditions of pop songs. And I looked and I was like, man, I've never seen like a black person like, play like this before. And so what I would do when I first discovered him, I would watch his fingers and mimic his hands, like as if the buttons you were playing on a video game. Like I would mimic the buttons he was pressing through his whole arrangement of the piece. So I would just study the video really carefully and watch his fingers and exactly the placements of the buttons. And for the longest time, I didn't know the note names. I couldn't tell you
Wow.
what I was playing or what the chords were, but I could recite these buttons in order. So it was like I was playing a video game because I was playing the buttons. And eventually, like over time, stuff started to click. Like I started to realize that certain patterns that I could use over certain keys could be reversed or put in different permutations, and it would still work over the same chord changes. And then I started getting creative rhythmically, like, and just things would click at the most random times. Like I would just be in my bed asleep, and then I'd realize like, oh wait, like this chord superimposed over this chord kind of sounds cool too. Like, or I could use this same pattern in my left hand or reverse it, or things just came to me at the most random times. So it was hard to really explain how. I don't think it was a very like, it would be a lot of spikes in my growth based on my mindset more so than my actual technique or playing. It was more so just a mindset of what I was thinking of in the moment in terms
Wow.
of how to approach things, you know. To answer the last part of your question about the harmonic language, I would say that just in general, like that also as well is something I feel like as you continue to listen to so many other people and hear how they play in context, it kind of just comes naturally. But as well as theory, you can, you know, put things together in your mind. So,
One thing that makes you a really unique musician is perhaps your specific
oh.
interest in video games and video game music, and the fact that you actually created one specifically about piano, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, what's the so it's called Piano Chronicles. I've played a bunch of it, and it's a lot of fun. Probably one of the most unique
Thank you.
experiences I've ever had in learning the piano. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you decided to create that, and a little bit about the process of actually creating it? And one thing I'm really interested to hear you speak about is your actual process for creating the music for it. Like what type of instincts and techniques you use to actually create the music.
Wow. Well, okay. To first answer the first part, yeah, in terms of why I created Piano Chronicles, um, you know, I always wanted something for myself that I could use to practice sight reading on the go, like away from the piano. And I always felt like there's not really a lot of tools that exist on your phone, like if you're away from a piano. Like for me, at a certain point, I would be touring so much to where I wouldn't have a chance to really practice, you know, sometimes until I got to the gig or to the performance. So for me, like personally, it was more of a personal thing of wanting to create something that I could practice on. And I guess the goal is to randomize the notes so that you can select different notes. And it's very basic, you know. I tried to make it user friendly for people who didn't know anything about music or just very new to music. But you know, I've always been interested in just combining the visual aspects of piano into a visual game experience, because to me that's how I connected more to piano, was relating it to a video game. And I think it made piano less intimidating to me to think of it as a game in a sense, because if you think of it, it's really like 88 buttons and you're just playing them consecutively in different orders. So it's like a massive video game controller where you're controlling the sounds. And to me, like that always helped me practice a lot, because it was like, I don't know, it just made it less of a daunting task to feel like I could get good at the piano. Like I just always was like, if I just do it like a game, then I could just play like, you know, it's just buttons, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's not too intimidating. I could just do it, you know.
Cool, man. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to switch into kind of this more keyboard teaching view here, because I would actually love to pick your brain a little bit more now about how you actually come up with a chord progression. So when you sit down and you're like, all right, I got to write something now for this game.
Yeah.
And you're just like, let's say you're just like messing around with a series of chords. Are there any ways that you would describe, you know, how you come to the feeling of rightness in a chord progression? Like this is the series of chords that feels right here. or are there certain rules that you follow? Anything like that?
Hmm. Oh, well, man, I think it's very personal depending, on the individual, like, yeah, because, music I think is really subjective overall. Like, everybody has a different taste and preference. So I kind of just try to match my tastes in terms of like harmonic direction. Like, something that I'll typically do. Um, One thing you can try, is just going through, going up the scale in a more like, traditional way. And then you can try like from there, you know, if you think just melodically first, like for me, it depends. It really depends. Like it's not the same every time, but there's been times where I hear the rhythm first, or I want to create a certain kind of intensity. Like if I want like a darker sound, I might do like try to find like something dark, but dark to me might not be the same to someone else. But
Sure.
usually, if I'm going for a darker sound, more dissonant, I try to combine like certain like kind of darker intervals. I've noticed at certain intervals, like when you combine kind of like tritone kind of kind of those type of intervals and some kind of like dark. Like a lot of times, it's not so much about like what exactly it is. It's just more of a feeling. It's like kind of like you want a dark tone, a dark feeling, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Something that's gonna emulate that. Yeah, something that's just gonna emulate that. And in terms of playing more elegant, typically it's gonna be something more structured, more like, triadic, or like, what I'm saying? Something that's kind of combining more diatonic, diatonic sounds, which is more related to something that's more, I would say, how can I put it? Happy, I guess. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but
Yeah, I don't know if you even remember at this point, but what was kind of the voicing that you did, and then took us through like the diatonic scales? Like, I don't know what.
Okay. Yeah. So
With that.
I did so I have E flat. Usually tenths in your left hand combined with like kind of like a you're using the 1 and the 7. The 1 and the 7, and then so if I'm in the key of E flat, I'm using the 1 and the 7 kind of within the voicing, and I'm using the 4 and the 3 and spread throughout, all the voicing. So kind of like but it's kind of like spreading it out at random points throughout, But I would say the most prominent sounds are really the 4 and the 7 within each of the voicings. So. And then like adding like certain kind of movements in between, I'm kind of like doing kind of bebop enclosures over, under, approaching the notes. So using all these concepts in real time, kind of flowing, but keeping the melody in mind. So if that's my 1, I'm kind of. And then you can use certain notes, like work within other chords. Yeah, exactly. Other chords. and then kind of, combining those elements of triads. Triads are always a good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just using 3 notes spread out, it's always a good base.
So for people who are trying to learn how to do this stuff, how did you get from hearing it or even hearing other people doing it to kind of like clunking around in the practice room to just being able to actually do it? Do you have any recommendations for methods we can use?
Yeah, I'd say a good way to practice this. Well, there's different ways. I mean, I think for one, everybody thinks differently and learns differently. For me, like the way that I practiced this was just being very detailed in terms of really paying attention to every note that I'm playing, every voice, and thinking kind of like, as detailed as I possibly could. So one exercise is what you were doing. It's just taking 3 notes and just going up the scale diatonically, which can work. And from there, but certain chords, for me, it's a personal choice of, like here I went back to the 1. Yeah. Whereas some people, they would go to the 5.
Right up.
But it's like I kind of practice my own methods kind of closer to what I would want to, want to hear. So, yeah.
Something like that.
And then, so kind of. Yeah.
One more time.
Yeah. So A flat over C.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once you've gotten comfortable using 3 notes, now you can add an additional note, which a good note to add is always the 7th of a chord. So over all the inversions. And then you can add another note. So say you're going to the E flat chord, the E flat, which is the 1, E flat major, you can do like a B flat 7 over F, And then you can do certain enclosures like kind of like that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like a gradual building process. And then from there, there's a step further. You can start not just going up diatonically. Now you can move around to different places randomly. So and now I'm mixing up, some counterpoint in my left hand. So it's kind of like you're kind of weaving in between all of these different same things I was mentioning earlier.
I'm gonna have like a Jahari practice session after this video, man. This is so cool.
No,
I think
that's
anybody listening is gonna do that, man. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to copy what you're doing because it's just it's too you and too good. But but I love breaking down the techniques and just understanding kind of where it's coming from. Because for me, that's like a way that we can then go in and take the stuff we like and make it our own, however possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and some of the stuff you were doing in between was so beautiful. I think you did kind of some. Yeah, so I think, as you said, it's subjective, right? Like one person needs to experiment with this. Like maybe one person doesn't like these clusters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just that was beautiful and illuminating. Man, I feel like this is a great moment to jump into that video. We've been at the piano, and I think you already kind of revealed a lot of kind of what's going on, maybe in terms of the harmony. I was going to ask you about the harmony, but I would actually love to ask you. Let's bring the video back up. I would love to ask you about this actual rhythmic technique that you're doing here. I'm going to go ahead and play this one more time before we kind of jump into the technique here that you're doing.
Sweet. Okay.
All right.
Oh man.
All right, man. You got to walk us through this. So
Okay.
So yeah, if we were gonna like break down just the simple version of the technique, like of just the kind of two-hand rhythm thing you're doing here, that video is so great, so great.
Oh man, thank you, man. Well, what I'm doing is, so if you have a metronome, I pulled up my metronome here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking in triplets, so the foundation of that. So I slowed it down a bit. Triplet. So you're thinking in triplets for that video specifically, but your landing hits are on triplet. And what I'm doing is kind of playing around the rhythm in 4/4. So I'm playing different rhythms. So a good exercise I do is I try to, like, for one, you can play continuous lines in different rhythms. So like, say I have a so I'm gonna try to like play just straight, what are those, quarter notes? I'm gonna try to play straight quarter notes. Which you can try that, and then you can try going up a rhythm. Try. And then you can try mixing up more rhythms, which you can do 16ths, right? You could try mixing that, and then you can even go even further. You could try, like, you know.
I feel like most of us are not going to try that.
So like, it's like going through each rhythm, trying to subdivide as much as you possibly can, and then weaving all of this in real time. So sometimes I might. But trying to land on the one each time. So the goal is to not lose your place, no matter how many rhythmic subdivisions you're doing. You're always coming back on. And you can even do stuff in between the metronomes. So kind of like not even quite in time. It's kind of like. And kind of going in between time, out of time, kind of like weaving in between different concepts like that. But it's really challenging. Like it's like it takes, and it's less about the notes. It's more about your rhythm. And a good exercise I try to do is just try to play a line continuously without stopping, no matter what notes I'm landing on. Just try to keep going, and just keep the rhythm consistent. Just trying to be as clean and consistent as you can with playing continuous stream of notes in time. And a lot of ideas that you can think of is kind of like taking different triads outside of the key, or kind of thinking in a different key while you're in the key that you're in. So you can think in C major, for example. Now you can think in A major. And then go back home. And then you can combine all kinds of different keys in real time. So you can go from E major, A major, D to C in real time. So I'm thinking A major, then I'm thinking E, then I'm thinking D, and now I'm thinking C. And you can go between all different keys at random, kind of fingerings to go in between different keys. So I'm going to try that now. I'm going to try thinking in A, and then I'm going to go to F. Or even in real time, you can just change whichever key you're going to land in. So F, C, G flat, A, So I'm just taking diatonically the major scale for now and thinking in different keys, but placing it in time over that pulse. Kind of
Beautiful.
and then same concepts in every key. So but you can always go back to the pentatonic scale of whichever the home key is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of hard to like break it down exactly, but really just trying to weave in between different rhythmic concepts. And it's really less about the notes, it's more about, you know, thinking rhythmically and thinking, you know, what other rhythmic variations can you do while landing on the one of the chord changes, you know.
Absolutely, man. That's incredible. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that knowledge with us. I mean, that's amazing. That's so
man.
cool. Yeah, and I think maybe the same thing applies with the lines, right? If you're going to take it out, justify it by coming back in craftily, right? You're not just kind of totally random going out. Your lines are like, as you said, you're still using like enclosures and approach notes and like bebop structures to like get yourself back to where it makes sense, like to actually do it. I was going to ask you too, what about so one thing that I also love about this video, so first of all, so the chords we got here, like, so we're doing kind of like E flat over G, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of going to A flat to here, and then at the turn around we have like something like that.
Yeah.
F7 flat 9.
Yeah.
Or F13 flat 9 to kind of like a B flat altered sound.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found so interesting was like the amazing rhythmic stuff you were doing actually kind of between the two hands, even regardless of the lines you're doing. So I was curious if you might even be able to try to break that down a bit, like, you know, some of the kind of like playing with the thumbs.
Yeah. Oh, got you. Oh man, yeah. This is okay. So, man, a lot of it is you're thinking of melody and bass in your pinky, right? Your pinkies, both hands. But in between, you can do all types of passing rhythms, like kind of. So I'm using these fingers in the middle. Yeah. So, and now, as I'm doing these fingers, it's kind of like a counterpoint concept, where my fingers at the bottom and the top are remaining consistent, while my fingers in the middle are kind of varying at random, which it's good to do this really slow. So try it slow. But my pinky is always landing back on the one. So those type of things, you're kind of using your pinky as, well, for me, I'm using my pinky as like a place to pull it all together. But as you can see, I'm kind of improvising. Same concepts, like thinking outside the key, like A major, D major stuff. But now I'm doing counterpoint in my left hand as well as my... So sometimes my left hand will be in like E flat major, and my right hand counterpoint notes, fingers, will be like in A major while playing it at the same time. So it'll be like... So, but what's key is the rhythmic approach. So as long as you're locked in to a pulse, boom, boom, boom. You can do stuff like that. Within that box, I would say.
Well, man, I am ready to go practice, and I am so grateful to you for sharing all this knowledge. Seriously.
Man, it's my honor, man. This is really awesome. Like, be a part of this, man.
I think everybody, I can say surely that everybody's going to definitely want to know where they can follow you, where they can listen to your music, check out your stuff. So yeah, where's the best place to follow you and see what's going on and check out your music?
Man, well, I'm working on my first album, and I'm gonna be announcing it Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you know, the typical platforms everyone uses. You know, so yeah, mainly I post a lot on Instagram, so I would say probably that would be my main platform. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been really, really incredible. I'm so excited by all of the techniques that you shared with us and the knowledge you shared with us.
Man.
I feel like you just gave me like a couple years worth of practice at least. So I'm ready.
Oh man.
I'm ready. That was awesome.
Oh man, it's my honor, man. It's just an honor to be a part, man. Man, it's great to meet you. And
yeah, you too.
I can't wait to see what else you create, man.
Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Jahari.
All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and check out the channel. If you are new here, be sure to click subscribe and hit the little bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any more videos just like this one. And also, if you got a lot out of this video, please be sure to hit that like button. It really helps me and the channel out. Jahari's got his debut album coming out really soon. Be sure to check him out. Follow him on Instagram so that you can make sure you know when it is released. I know I will be waiting. I cannot wait to hear what he has put together. All right, everybody, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the